Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football TITTH number 168. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. I got Emron and Nick with me today. Happy Sunday, gentlemen. How are we doing? Happy draft weekend.
What's up, guys?
Looking good, man. Looking good. Every Sunday after this, man, we're going to be full of 12 hours of football. I love it.
Let's go. Super excited. Last Sunday without football, and tomorrow is the last Monday without To the Hizzy on Monday nights. So I'm super pumped. We're getting rolling into the regular season here. How the draft's going, guys? I only got one left so far. How you guys doing this weekend?
I had my last one at like 11 o'clock because I got roped into a live draft that was streaming. Nice. That was intense. So I was drafting at like 1 a.m. and I was like, dude, I got to go. But it was a really cool league. It really focuses on like big plays and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for that. But that was my last draft that I had going.
Yeah, I got one left myself on Wednesday for our high school league. We've been having that going for a decade, but all the other drafts are done. I think the more and more I do them, I absolutely love auction drafts. They add such another element. You can get literally who you want, and you can also mess with your buddies and make them pay a lot more than they should, so they can get you later on. But I'm super pumped, man. Love this time of the year.
Yeah, I agree. I just got into auction this year, and the only auction team that I have, oh my God, I love it. Absolutely love that team. And it just gives you the opportunity to just really attack the guys that you're all in on that aren't, the big names, right? Like Keenan Allen, he's kind of like in the middle of everyone's rankings, but I have him at like 6. You know what I mean? So he's a guy that I've been able to get in Dynasty quite a bit, got him in auction. So yeah, really excited about this season. We got football on Thursday night. We will be there with you guys, 7:35 Eastern time, previewing the Bucks and the Cowboys, jumping into game props, maybe a little bit of DFS as well, some monkey knife fight props. We're going to get into it, guys. Ready to take off and attack this fantasy season. Today, we are talking props. So we're just going to jump right into it. We're looking at Tom Brady or Dak, who's going to have more interceptions this season. We're looking at over under 11 for Dak and 10.5 for Tom Brady. So dead even here. Emron, we'll start with you. First off, who has more interceptions and over under to their respective numbers?
I think it's going to be Dak, and it's not because of Dak, but I think it's himself. But I think the Cowboys, their team is not as good as the Bucks. I think they're going to be chasing more in games. Dak's going to have to press a little bit more, which is good because, in terms of fantasy and other stats, he's going to be really good because he's going to have more opportunities. But that also means more chances for interceptions. And honestly, I don't know how Brady's going to have to write any interceptions with all the weapons they have. Like, somebody's always going to be open.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I'm actually going over for both, but I think that Dak will have more. Dak had about 4 interceptions in 5 games or so last season, so he's kind of still on that pace for one a game. Tom Brady did go over last year this number. He had 12 last year. Second year in the Arians offense. I'm not sure if that means more or less, but the weapons are there. Antonio Brown's going to be healthy the whole season. I would assume he would still have less than Dak. Line it up for us, Nick. What do you got?
I got over for both for the same reasons that you said. I think that Dak's going to be playing a lot from behind. He's going to be forcing the ball. Not that he's a bad quarterback, just there's going to be a lot more opportunities for it to happen. And I just saw that Tom Brady did get 12 interceptions last year. I think he's still going to throw over. I think it's like 10.5 the line is. So 10.5 is very little interceptions considering how much passing offense the NFL has these days. So I'm going to go over for both.
Yep, absolutely agree. Sounds like we're all on the same page there. What quarterback will have the most interceptions this year? Looking at our list, top odd makers have Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, Jameis Winston, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Trevor Lawrence. Any of those names jumping out at you guys, or someone beyond these names?
Winston. He's just a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger, and his plus 1,000. Like, I'll put $5 on that. Like, absolutely. And Michael Thomas isn't going to be in or something. I don't know. Michael Thomas has like a weird situation. How many games is he actually going to play? And he's Jameis Winston is not the slant thrower. He's the deep ball kind of guy. He's going to force the ball. I'm going to say he's going to have the most interceptions, but out of like the rookies that I'm seeing, I'm going to say Zach Wilson. I've seen his arm strength, and it's very impressive, but he's going to be a young quarterback for the Jets with a new coach. So I think that they're going to try and force him to throw the ball just to see what he's got, if he's worth a draft pick. So I think we're going to see a lot of opportunity for that to happen.
All right, fair enough. How about you, Emron?
We just had a comment in the chat, and I kind of spoiled my my response. I think it's probably going to be Jared Goff. I mean, that team is really depleted of weapons. They really have T.J. Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, and that's about it. And so I think he's also going to be exposed again, right? No Sean McVay, no weapons that the Rams had. So I think he's going to be someone. He's also listed as the favorite. A couple other guys I like. Houston Texans, I think, are going to be dog shit this year. But it's up in the air who's going to be their quarterback and who's going to be, starting the whole year. With Watson most likely not playing this year, right? Unless something, miraculous happens. It's going to be between Tyrod Taylor and rookie Davis Mills. I think as a team, they might lead the league, but I think they're going to split time, so neither one's going to play in enough. And then I think I agree with Nick, Zach Wilson. I don't wish ill on anybody, but I just see him. He just has bust written all over him. I just don't see it. I just think he's going to, in that offense, they've got a little bit more weapons than they did last year, but I don't think it's enough. I could see him, being a sneaky play as well.
You're not grabbing Corey Davis late in drafts, Emron?
I am not. I'm leaving him for you.
I am not.
I grabbed him a couple times, Corey Davis, just because, there's not too much there. And, someone's got to be the number one wide receiver. And I think that he's going to, be that target for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, Jamison Crowder actually just went down, or not down with COVID, but he's on the COVID, list. I'm not sure if he actually has it or if it was close contact. So there might be a couple extra looks for Corey Davis first couple of weeks of the season here. I kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick, but my gut was telling me Jalen Hurts. But similar to what you were saying about the Houston Texans is, after they grabbed Minshew and what we've seen from Flacco during preseason, if Hurts isn't getting it done, if he's throwing a lot of picks, he's probably headed to the sideline. So I'm going to go with Fitzpatrick because he is one of those volume passers, another gunslinger who likes to take shots downfield. And, last season he had, I think, eight interceptions in 9 games or so, not being able to play the full season. So he's another guy that's kind of on that same pace, like even like Dak Prescott for, right around a pick a game, like 0.8 picks per game. So I like Fitzpatrick and I like Hurts, but I still, like I said, I think it's more of a dark shot or a far shot because of he'll just get pulled at some point. All right, so we're going to go into some interception matchups. Who will have more between the prospective quarterbacks that we list here? Nick, Kyler Murray or Josh Allen? Who throws more interceptions this year?
Kyler Murray. Because he actually cannot see over the line, and Cliff Kingsbury tells him where to throw the ball, and he hopes and prays every throw. I really do think that Kyler Murray does have ability to be a quarterback. It's just that he's so small. And really, I was seeing a lot of like Jared Goff type of like throws. Like it didn't even seem like he was like reading the defense, just throwing the ball where he was told. Josh Allen, he's a legitimate quarterback. He's going to be making some downfield throws. He's getting more accurate as time goes on. He has Stefan Diggs, and he can read through progression. So I'm going to say Kyler Murray has more interceptions than Josh Allen.
This one's a really good matchup. Like looking at how both of these quarterbacks have started their NFL careers, neither one throws a ton. Allen only threw 10 last year. Murray's thrown 12. I'm going to say Josh Allen, but not by a lot. I think I can see Josh Allen throwing maybe 12, 13. Maybe Murray throws one less. I think they're both – this is a really good matchup because I think it's really even. It could go either way. I think Allen, I think their team is going to maybe throw – I think they're going to throw just as much, but I think he's more inclined to make that big play. So I think I could see him throwing more passes. They're also both mobile, but I think Murray definitely tucks it and runs a lot more. So I think where Murray sees a 50-50 ball, like Nick alluded to at his height, he may not take that. He may just opt to take the 10 yards in the first down, where Allen may say, you know what, he's not as fast as Murray. He's fast, but he may chuck that ball 60 yards downfield to Stefan Diggs and see what happens.
Right, absolutely. I'm going to go Kyler Murray as well. I just still feel like Josh Allen is still the more disciplined pass thrower. Like Nick alluded to, the vision's not there for Kyler, at least in comparison to Josh Allen, who's a freaking tree. Can see over the line, has a lot more vision. And I just, I'm still not sold on Kingsbury in Arizona yet on their play calling, how it's really set up for Kyler and their big weapons. Neither team really has like a solid running game. They both have two-headed, running games. So obviously there's going to be opportunity for both of them to throw and pass a lot. Pick opportunities will be there, but I still go with Kyler Murray to have more. You're looking at a little bit better value for Josh Allen at the -110 versus Kyler's -120. Doesn't really do anything for me. I'm going to go Murray. He had two more than Allen, I think, last year. You said, Emron, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I'll go Murray again. I just feel like there's going to be more opportunities for mistakes in that offense. I'm not sold on Kingsbury just yet. Next matchup, we got Joe Burrow versus Baker Mayfield. What do you think, Nick?
Joe Burrow over Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Joe Burrow, and I'm not going to say because it's actually like his talent level. I think that there are going to be more drops from Cincinnati's receivers, and that's going to Jamar Chase's drops have been very, 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 very concerning. That's like his best friend, so like I feel like that's gonna play a huge factor. Baker, they have the huge run attack. I feel like they're really gonna depend on Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb like they did last year. Jarvis Landry, he's not really of a downfield thrower, but he is he works the field, I feel like. I don't know. But I think Joe Burrow is going to have more interceptions. So I'm going to go Joe Burrow on this one.
Fair enough. Emron?
I'm going to go Burrow as well, although I love Joe Burrow. I think the offense the Browns have runs through Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, the way they built that offensive lineup. Last year, I think Mayfield was 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, to 3-to-1 ratio. I just think he doesn't throw as much because he doesn't have to with the way they've stacked that team. Burrow, their line has made improvements, but, there's still some question marks there. They have a lot more weapons. I think that offense is going to go through him, and I think their defense is really bad. So he's again, kind of like we were talking about with Dak. They're going to be chasing late, so I think that just increased the opportunity where he's going to have to press and make throws he probably shouldn't. So I'm going to go with Burrow.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And that was the point that I was going to. You have Kevin Stefanski, who really wants to protect his quarterback, really turned down the bad throw percentage for Baker, and especially in a big year where he's looking for a contract. Joe Burrow in his situation, yeah, you're right. They're going to be playing from behind a ton. He'll probably throw at least 4 interceptions just in the last 2 minutes of games. Just chasing points, trying to make something happen, keep a drive alive, whatever it is. So yeah, definitely going Joe Burrow there. Still think that he's the more talented pass thrower, but this different systems, better defense in Cleveland versus Cincinnati. We got to take those factors into consideration. So we got Terrence here in the chat saying he's got the second pick in his draft. The format is weird as there's one keeper per team. No, not that weird. He has Alvin Kamara locked. Attaboy. Players off the board: CMC, Henry, Cook, Chubb, Jones, Kelsey, Waller, all gone off the board. His question is, who do I go for at pick 2? Stack RB immediately or go wide receiver? I feel personally this year's pool of wide receivers is super deep. Not knowing how many teams or if it's super flex, I would say to double dip to another running back. What do you guys think? Help Terrence out here.
For me, the guys that I want for the running back to be stacking them. I mean, maybe you can go Eckler. That would be a good pick. But I was going to say go wide receiver. There seems to be a lot of running backs that are off the board right away and the top tight ends. So try and get that wide receiver. I don't know if it's PPR or not, but I always like having wide receivers on my team.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go running back. So the reason I say that is when you look at the players off the board, there's not one wide receiver, so you can literally have your pick of any wide receiver. Backs are already getting scarce. If you have Kamara, guys like Eckler, guys like Gibson, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris are all still on the board and still available. So if I could snag one of those, I'd be a happy camper. And like I said, no one's taking receivers, so there's going to be tons to choose from.
Well, I think Nick nailed it on the head there. I didn't see Eckler on that list. So Eckler is also a receiver, big time. Guy that I have at like 5th in my ranking. So that would be a really good spot to pop him off, in my opinion. And I've been in those leagues where you do have that RB scarcity and you get to the second round and you're like, shit, what, like, I'm left with Kareem Hunt in the second round already. Like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, it's not a great situation. I think I actually did that. I popped Kareem Hunt a couple of years ago in like second or third round in a keeper league like that. All right, let's move on. We got Dak versus Justin Herbert. Who has the most interceptions thrown this season between the two of them? What do you think, Nick?
Man, I feel like Herbert's going to be able to check down to Eckler a lot. And I feel like that's going to save the interception opportunities. Like we talked about Dak, having I'm not saying he's going to have like high. I wouldn't be upset if he had 15. That means he's taking chances and he's being smart. He's definitely going to throw more touchdowns. But I feel like Justin Herbert's going to be able to check down to a receiving running back as a safety valve at all times. So I'm going to say Dak on this one just because Herbert's not going to have as many opportunities to throw interceptions. I
agree. What do you think, Imran?
Yeah, this is going to be tough. I mean, last year Herbert, took the NFL by storm. 31 touchdowns, 10 picks. Looking at Dak's career, his worst year, quote unquote worst year, was his second year when he had 13 picks. So he doesn't throw a lot himself. I'm actually going to go with Herbert. I think in year two, I don't think it's going to spike up and go to like 20. But I think, now that NFL has film on him, they know what he likes to do. I could see him being in that, maybe 12 to 15 range. Again, this is one that's a very close comp, which is probably why they matched them up together. But I think history shows that Dak's pretty good with the ball. So I think I'm going to go with Herbert to have more, but I don't think it's going to be by a lot. It might be like by one.
I gotcha. Yeah, and that's a fair argument, but I'm going opposite. I'm going with Dak. I agree with Nick. I think he's going to have more interceptions. And a lot of it just comes instinctually from Joe Lombardi entering in as the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, right? He was a quarterback's coach for the Saints, very used to Drew Brees, Mike Thomas, Alvin Kamara, getting very easy and efficient targets to his A1 playmakers in Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, right? And then you see a guy like Drew Brees, who is just so efficient for so many years, keeping that high passing percentage so consistently. I think that we're going to see that evolve with the Chargers. And I think actually Herbert's in line for a big, big year. I got him at quarterback 4, quarterback 5, kind of splitting hairs there. I think he's still going to be an elite quarterback in redraft, and he just has all the weapons to do it and the system to do so. So I'm going to go with Dak there. And again, just with the Cowboys, another situation where you're going to see a team playing from behind. Like, their defense is better, but it's not light years better by any means. I still think that they're going to be kind of like in the bottom realm of this league. Yep. All right, next up, last matchup we have here, a couple of rookies. Mac Jones, who is now New England's QB1, versus Trevor Lawrence. And a little extra caveat on here, are you guys drafting Mac Jones in redraft this year? We'll say with Superflex. We'll give him a little bit more value.
I'm going to say that Mac Jones gets more interceptions. Okay. I saw Trevor Lawrence play in the last preseason game for the Jaguars, and I was highly impressed with how he was passing to the corners. That's professional throws, and I was like, man, now I kind of see what all the hype is about because, you can dominate college all you want, but when you go to the pros, it's completely different. Those are grown professionals. So I'm always interested to see how they throw. The last time I saw someone like that was Dak. Dak kind of took my breath away when he threw against Los Angeles in a preseason game. I was like, oh, here we go, man. Like, this guy got something going. So I'm going to say Trevor Lawrence is going to be a little bit more accurate. And Mac Jones with the New England offense, I feel like it's pretty complicated for a rookie. Tom Brady is a very smart guy. Mac Jones is a very smart guy. He was apparently teaching Cam Newton. But I'm going to say that Mac Jones is going to struggle a little bit and throw more interceptions than Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence has kind of been like preparing for this moment his entire life.
All right. So quick side note on the Trevor Lawrence last game in preseason. Jags went all starters. Cowboys went all secondary third team. Just got to throw that caveat in there. He was looking good. I was watching that on Hard Knocks. I think they went into halftime with like a 16-7 lead or something like that. Was lighting them up. Your boy Zeke was like getting giddy about it, watching Sunshine move the ball up and down the field. Is pretty funny. I am going to go opposite. I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence here. And it really just comes down to coaching, right? Bill Belichick versus Urban Meyer. And at the end of the day, I feel like Mac Jones will still kind of be on a short leash. Like, if he starts really making a lot of mistakes and he's throwing a lot of interceptions, they might just sit him down for Brian Hoyer. That's kind of the Patriot way, right? If Cam Newton wasn't good enough and they held on to him literally that long until they cut him less than a handful of days ago, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's leash is short in New England. So I'm going to go with Mac Jones to have less, Trevor Lawrence to have more. What do you think, Imran? Wrap it up for us.
Sure, I'm going to go with Mac Jones to have more, and it all comes down to talent.
Mhm.
Trevor Lawrence is a superior quarterback. I think when the play breaks down, he's got,
Mhm.
I think, better weapons around him as well. I don't think that should be ignored. Marvin Jones, DJ Chark,
Mhm.
Laviska Shenault, James Robinson, like he's got weapons and a decent enough offensive line, and he can run. So I think that's going to save him from making some bad plays, and he does a really good job of elevating his talent around him. I like Mac Jones as well. He just doesn't have as much help, in my opinion. I know they have John
Mhm.
Smith and Henry, so I think I could see him checking down a little bit more. But on the outside, he's going to have to throw the ball downfield at some point, and he doesn't. He just doesn't have the weapon. So I think
Right.
Mac Jones is going to throw more.
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from. It's a fair critique. My big thing is that the Patriots offense is going to protect Mac Jones more than Urban Meyer's offense with the Jaguars is going to expose Trevor more because they do have that more talent. They will be more likely to take liberties downfield, and I guess that's just where I get caught up is like that system in New England is going to protect a young Mac Jones. They're not going to ask him to do more than what they need. Maybe they do try to have him take a couple of shots, on a third and long or whatever it is. And he does get, grabbed up on a couple of those. You're looking at what Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers. I actually kind of like Jacoby Myers with Mac Jones at the helm rather than Cam. I think Jacoby Myers could actually really climb up the production charts this year, but time will tell and time is ticking. We are getting closer and closer. All right, let's jump over to our passing touchdown matchups. But before we do, if you haven't already, please be sure to smash the like button, share the video, and follow us on youtube.com/take it to the Hizzy. Let's go. All right, first one up here. More passing touchdowns. Kyler Murray versus Lamar Jackson. Kind of feels like I'm stealing money here. Emron, what do you think?
It's going to be Kyler Murray.
Right.
Last I checked, I don't know who Lamar Jackson is throwing to besides Mark Andrews. Their entire receiving court is just ravaged. I mean, I think he's got Mark Andrews and I think Hollywood Brown, and that's about it. Like, he even lost J.K. Dobbins, right, who can come out of the backfield. Murray, on the other hand, is loaded with weapons, and that's all they do. So I think this is they say you should always be scared when it looks like it's too good to be true, but I think it's going to be Kyler.
1,000%. Put a bow on it for us, Nick.
Yeah, it's going to be Kyler. It's just more opportunities, and there's going to be a huge rushing attack, huge dependency on Lamar Jackson running the ball. I don't understand why they run a triple option offense in the NFL, but whatever, that's their choice. But Lamar Jackson should be used more as a passer, but he really has no targets. Rashad Bateman going down is killer for his stock in terms of a passer, but he kind of ups his status as a rusher because also J.K. Dobbins is out. So it's really just like last year all over again, just dependent on Lamar. So we'll see him getting 3 yards every carry, going through the sandstorm like SpongeBob. And I'm going to say Kyler Murray gets more touchdowns.
Yep. All of us agree here at the Hizzy. If you disagree with us and you're watching, please drop it in the chat and let us know why we should be looking at Lamar Jackson to throw more touchdowns than Kyler Murray this year. I'm staring free money in the face right now. Guys, betonline.ag, go check it out. There's a lot of props here that are just some low-hanging fruit. This is one of them. TITTH, take it to the Hizzy. That's what we do. All right, next up, we got Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Who throws more passing touchdowns this year? It's a close one. I like TB still. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna go Rodgers. Okay. He's electric. My only concern is that is he gonna get mad at the middle of the season and leave? But I'm gonna say that he does. Devonte Adams is a legitimate top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, and I think that Robert Tonyan is going to take a step forward. Aaron Jones is still there, so I think he's going to have more touchdowns than Tom Brady. Tom Brady isn't really like a fantasy elite player. He does just enough to win the games. He's like the ultimate game manager. I mean, he's great. He's great at what he does, but his production, I had him in fantasy last year, didn't really get too much until November, December when he's locking in for the playoffs. He does just enough to win the games and get a playoff spot, and that's where he does his true magic. So I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers.
Well, for reference for that, Tom Brady threw the second most touchdowns last season. It was weird because he threw more.
That's really strange.
Yeah, I know, right? He threw more yards than Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers threw 8 more touchdowns than him. You know what I mean? Aaron Rodgers finished with 48. Tom Brady finished with 40, 1 and 2 in the league. Old men are still running things over here. I'm still going with Tom Brady. I feel like Aaron Rodgers will come down a little bit this year. Obviously, we've had some of that drama in Green Bay stewing. Obviously that's going to be really fresh for, the first handful of weeks. And I feel like this Green Bay offense may be more ground and pound to start things out and may not be so flashy, trying to drop, 4 touchdowns at Devonte Adams right out of the gate. So I'll go Tom Brady. Settle it for us. Emron, who do you got here?
I'm going with Brady as well. Last year, Rodgers had I don't want to call it a fluke, but he had an insane year in terms of efficiency. I think 9% of his passes were touchdowns, so 1 of every 10 was a touchdown pass. That's unsustainable. You can't keep that up. And then when you compare the offenses, offense to offense, Tampa's better at every level. Better offensive line, better weapons. It's Aaron Rodgers, Devonte Adams, Aaron Jones, and maybe guys like Tanyan. But on the other side, Tampa, you got Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, OJ Howard returning from injury, which a lot of people are forgetting about, which is just going to make that offense even scarier. So I'm going to go with Tom. I think he's also settled in, like you guys mentioned. Second half of last year is when he picked it up. That's when he got comfortable with that offense, got comfortable with his weapons. He's going to have a second year with a lot of those guys, especially somebody like Antonio Brown. I just think he might flirt with 50 this year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with Tom as well. All the points that you alluded to. Next up, we've got Dak Prescott versus Herbert again. Now we're on touchdowns versus interceptions. I'm feeling Dak here. What do you think, Nick?
Dak. If he plays the entire season, there's a possibility he might throw for 6,000 yards. They're just going to gun the ball off. Kellen Moore is a former quarterback. He was a backup, did have some time, playing, filling in for people that were hurt, but he loves Dak. But Dak also likes running the ball because he knows how it sets up the pass. But there's going to be a huge focus on the air attack this year in Dallas. So I'm going to say touchdowns because he also has 3 legitimate wide receivers. I still love Michael Gallup. I don't know why people talk so much crap about him. I love him. And CeeDee Lamb, he's coming up. Amari, those 2 are basically going to be fighting for number 1 spot. It's going to be 1A, 1B there. So, I'm going to go Dak with more touchdowns than Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's still going to have a great season, though. It's kind of like looking at the eye test, A or B. It's just cutting hairs at this point.
What do you think, Emron?
I'm going to go with Dak as well. I think he's got better weapons. And last year, he was on pace for a ridiculous season. I think it was 6,500 yards, some ridiculous stat. And I think he could, like Nick mentioned, Michael Gallup, ends up being the forgotten guy in this offense. But he had 1,100 yards just a couple of years ago. There's a really strong chance that they could have 3 receivers get 1,000 yards. That's very likely. It would not shock me the least. And I think, with the Chargers, I think the loss of Hunter Henry, I think is going to sting a little bit for that team. I know they did get Jared Cook, but I think I'm going to go with Dak here. I think Herbert's going to have a solid year too, but I think Dak's going to be, he's going to be out for revenge after missing last year.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I just feel like the game flow is going to be more positive for Dak week in and week out as far as fantasy terms, props, touchdowns, yards, whatever it is. There's always going to be a lot of opportunity for them there because they're going to be playing from behind. I like the Chargers defense a little bit more. They're in a more competitive division where you might actually see some higher scoring games every now and again. But at the same time, the NFC East is just, it's a garbage train. You know what I mean? Other than the football team's defense, it's kind of a shit show, right? So I feel like Dak's also going to be in some really high scoring games as well. And I feel like this is going to be really close. We're talking 2 to 3 touchdowns here, but I am going Dak as well. So we got that settled. That's a home run from us. We're going to skip the next one and just kind of move along here. Quarterbacks are clogging it up a little bit. We're going to move over to running backs. Total rushing and receiving touchdowns. Who has more? Nick Chubb or Zeke Elliott? Total touchdowns, receiving and rushing.
This is a tough one.
It's a tough one.
There's
tough. A little bit more love for Nick Chubb here at -125 to Zeke's -105, but I think it might as well be dead even money here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Zeke on this one just because they really focus Nick Chubb on just the rushing attack. He does have catching ability, but they really do focus on the run in Cleveland with him. Zeke lost 10 pounds this year, so I think that there's going to be more of a focus for him to be on the field for 3 downs, and Tony Pollard kind of be that change of pace kind of guy. I'm going to say Zeke on this one. And say that he has more. I hope he takes a step forward this year because he really needs it, because people are talking about him being the one that gets shipped out in Dallas and everyone else is staying. So I hope he really earns his contract this year.
That'd be crazy. What do you think, Imran?
I think it's definitely Zeke here. I think the way this offense is designed in Dallas, it goes through Dak, and in Cleveland, it goes through the running back. So there's going to be less, receiving opportunities for Chubb, and also Kareem Hunt is there. That's kind of his role in that offense. So I think Chubb, not because he can't do it, but I just think the way the offense is designed, his receptions aren't really going to be there. And Zeke's proven to be a really good dual threat running back, right? Prior to last year, his receptions were 77, 54, 52. So he's a legitimate weapon, and he can get receiving touchdowns. And I think with Dak back, I think last year proved that Dak's really Batman and Zeke's Robin. I think Zeke he could not do enough without Dak, and I think that offense too, with all the receivers we talked about, I think Zeke could really, really eat this year because you can't load the box up when you have Gallup, Cooper, and Lamb out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going Zeke Elliott as well. That opportunity in the passing game is just more immense this year. Nick, you mentioned it, losing weight, the offensive line, just not what it was of yesteryear, right? So there's more opportunities for him there. Emron, you alluded to, he has respectable receiving volume. So when you're plugging in the receiving touchdowns, you have to go Zeke here, especially just because when you get into the red zone for the Cowboys, that offensive line is going to be beat up, going all the way down the field. Like I said, they're not what they used to be. I feel like they are going to struggle in the red zone with rushing touchdowns anyways. So I feel like that props up more value for Zeke and Tony Pollard in the red zone for pass catching touchdowns. All right, next up, we've got most rushing and receiving touchdowns for Jonathan Taylor and Aaron Jones. I'm planting my flag on Aaron Jones. I think this one's a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm going to say Aaron Jones. He has more of that dual threat ability. Jonathan Taylor really took a step forward as a rusher, but they also have like Nyheim Hines coming back, who also is their third down back for sure. So I'm going to say Aaron Jones because there's more opportunity.
Yep, agreed. Emron?
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking here as well. I think other part for Taylor is, aside from the presence of Nyheim Hines, you're going to be without Quentin Nelson for the first few games, which is a massive loss. You're also going to be without Carson Wentz for, I think it's at least 3 games. And, with Nyheim Hines there, it's really restricted to rushing. So I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. That offense, there's less mouths to feed there. No Jamal Williams as well for Aaron Jones either. So I think this is easy money for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, and A.J. Dillon is not a pass-catching back, right? Like, that's not his strong suit. So you would assume that Aaron Jones would have even more opportunity for catching passes out of the backfield this year with Jamal Williams gone, who is more, preferred for that type of role, for like, an every down type of back. Jonathan Taylor, love the situation there. I think he's going to have a great year, but like Nick alluded to, Nyheim Hines is still there. Articles just came out, whether it was yesterday or the day before, about how they want to get Hines more touches than they did last year. This is a guy that had like 10, multiple games of 10 plus targets, right? So they're talking about getting this guy even more touches. When you add in that receiving touchdown aspect to this prop, you have to take that in consideration. Give me Aaron Jones. We got a couple of questions from the chat. Thanks for being patient, guys. We got Aiden Doran asking about Allen Robinson, Tyler Higbee, and Fournette for Antonio Gibson. Fair trade offer to me. I'm not sure what side of this you're on. I prefer the Allen Robinson and Tyler Higbee side because I feel like Fournette just isn't enough for me. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting a split backfield there. I like Tyler Higbee as a reliable target, actually, in that Rams offense. I love Antonio Gibson, really high on him, super, super high. But that Fournette part of the trade just really drives it down for me. So I prefer Allen Robinson, Tyler Higbee. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. It's just so, like, you're not going to get the replacement that you're looking for by Fournette for Antonio Gibson. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. And Allen Robinson's a pretty good wide receiver that's getting a better quarterback this year. So, I'm going to take the Allen Robinson, Tyler Higbee, and Fournette side. And this isn't a fair trade.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. So the way I read this trade is Aiden is offering to trade A-Rob, Higbee, and Fournette for Gibson. I think Robinson for Gibson by itself, I think it's pretty fair 1-for-1. I think adding Higbee and Fournette, even though Fournette's in a committee, I think that's just too rich for me. Without getting something back, I wouldn't offer it. So I think you're offering too much here, Aiden.
Yeah, Aiden, maybe you have a lot of wide receiver depth, right? Like, if you're willing to give up Allen Robinson, you probably have some depth there. So I would just do Robinson for Gibson, because you're looking at Tyler Higbee, like, he may not be a tight end 1 in the rankings, whether it's Fantasy Pros or someone else that you follow or us, but he has that opportunity in that offense. They lost Cam Akers. This offense should be a little bit more vertical, even more so than we thought, and we still look at them as a high volume passing offense. So, AR for AG, that's fine. Wide receiver 1 for running back 1 territory. But Tyler Higbee is a big clog in it because he could be a tight end 1. There's that level of margin from, tight end 1 to tight end 2 is like a catch. You know what I mean? All right, next up, we've got Pablo Gonzalez. He says Zeke and Dak at their ADP this year was a steal. Sure, yeah, especially if you drafted earlier. Zeke was hanging around for a while. People love to forget the reasons why Zeke didn't do well last year. Dak getting hurt made his ADP lower. Absolutely, you got to love that. And, just too, I feel like you saw Zeke just kind of bail on the season at different points last year. Look how they were, crawling at a nearly 500 record to win the division. Says same with Zeke. If Dak would have played all year, his ADP would have been higher. If they're both back to their forms prior to getting hurt, they will do well. Yep, absolutely agree. And he says that's a fair trade. We disagree, Pablo. All right, moving on. Thanks for the question, guys. Keep flooding them in. No worries. All right, next up, we've got Chris Carson versus Najee Harris. Most rushing and receiving touchdowns combined. We'll go back to you, Emron.
I'm going to go with Najee Harris on this one. I think they took him in the first round, right? Like we've talked about a lot in past shows. They'd overlooked a lot of needs, especially being the offensive line. So I think that offense was going to go through Najee, and they've been looking for a back like this to replace like prime Le'Veon Bell. Carson, I really like Carson, but sometimes in Seattle, I just don't know what they're doing. They kind of follow in some other running backs, and, sometimes Russ takes a little bit away from Carson. But I think the way these offenses are set up, I think Najee is going to have more touchdowns than Carson.
What do you think, Nick?
Man, I really want to believe in Chris Carson. I've been watching his workout videos, and it's kind of impressive. But Najee is kind of in that situation where they can kind of focus on him and kind of have him set the pace for their offense. So I'm going to go Najee on this one. Chris Carson he's a great body to look at, like Matt Jones was for the Washington team years ago. The guy was 6'4" as a running back, but just couldn't put it all together on the field. Or in Chris Carson's case, it's really just health. So I'm gonna say that he's not gonna play all 17 games.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to go with Najee Harris. That offensive line with the Steelers is just that bad, where I believe that he is going to catch probably anywhere from 5 to 7 touchdowns this year, just because they're not going to be able to operate in the red zone like they have in years past. It's a huge decline in just talent. I mean, let's just be real about it. They look really bad on paper, that offensive line. Maybe they throw it in my eye and they stick it to us, but they just look really bad. I feel like there's going to be a lot of pass catching opportunities for Harris, and then he'll still probably have anywhere from 5 to 6 rushing touchdowns as well. Could be a very big year for the rookie. Chris Carson's going to get pulled on third down opportunities. Just keeping it simple. They struggled and stalled at different points last year, kind of looking for a new identity, whether they're going to be a pass heavy offense, run heavy, balanced. They really just can't seem to get it all together there. Russell Wilson was trying to leave. He's trying to become a Chicago Bear. I mean, let's be real here. The situation up there is pretty convoluted. So I'm going to go with Najee Harris, where things look a little bit more black and white, at least to me. All right, we're going to go into our rushing yards matchup. Oh, actually, you know what? I did have one last one. Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry for rushing and receiving touchdowns. That's a really good one. We shouldn't pass that one up.
Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry
last year. One more touchdown.
I think it's going to happen again. I mean, Derrick Henry gets a lot of run, but Dalvin Cook also gets a lot more catches than Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry is just a thoroughbred of a running back. So he does nothing but run the ball. So I'm going to go Dalvin Cook. Even though it's one, I still see him, popping off again.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Oppo. I'm going to go Derrick Henry. I think the loss of Jonnu Smith actually is going to help him when they get to the red zone. That's kind of where Jonnu would eat and get those touchdowns. I think he had 8 last year, and I think he ran one in himself. I think having Julio, basically traded Jonnu and Corey Davis for Julio, which I'll take that trade all day, every day. I think that's really going to open this offense up, and I think you could see Henry flirt with some touchdowns, and I'll say he even catches a couple. So I'll go Henry.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to go back to Dalvin Cook. I just feel like the pass catching opportunities are going to be there. Realistically, he could have the same amount of rushing touchdowns. He is a real finisher in the red zone still. Obviously, Nick, what'd you call him, a thoroughbred? I'm not a big horse guy, but thoroughbrids, are they just fucking jacked? Are they just walking around?
You just got to let him run. Just got to let him run. Give him the ball and let him run.
All right, so thoroughbreds go to Gold's Gym. Got it. Still going Dalvin Cook, just a little bit more versatile still. You have, potentially between the two teams, the best wide receiver tandem in Tennessee, or, the best wide receiver tandem in Minnesota, Thielen and Jefferson versus AJ Brown and Julio. I would go with the latter in the Titans pairing. But, as far as wide receiver combos go, like top 5 in the league, probably, right? As far as like what we expect. So yeah, I'm still going Dalvin Cook there. More opportunity in the passing game, minus 125 on the line to Derrick Henry's minus 105. I do feel like it should be a little bit more even, but I'm still going Cook there. All right, now we can move over to rushing yard matchups. First one up is Zeke Elliott versus Aaron Jones. You can take it away, Emron.
So Zeke versus Elliott.
Yep.
Oh, so sorry, Zeke Elliott versus Aaron Jones. Yeah, total rushing yards. I'm gonna go with
money.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Zeke. I think Zeke's gonna. I think with Dak back, I'm really expecting a big bounce back here from Zeke. Aaron Jones, he's never really gone off, right? He's never had, those 12, 13, 1,500 yard seasons like Zeke has. I think he's flirted like around 1,000, 1,100. I know Jamal Williams is gone, but they invested a second round pick in AJ Dillon, so I expect him to sneak in a little bit. So I'm gonna go with Zeke to have more rushing yards than Aaron Jones.
How about you, Nick?
I'm gonna say Aaron Jones because LaFleur really likes running backs. Like, I don't know if it's like a misdirection that he does, that he says like, oh, I'm gonna draft AJ Dillon when they need a number 2 wide receiver. But I think that he's gonna use the rushing attack a little bit more. Aaron Jones is, he has that dual threat ability, but I feel like he's gonna get more opportunity than Zeke. Zeke's going to just try and be there on 3 downs and try and provide help any way he can. But I'm going to go Aaron Jones on this one.
Yeah, I still think Aaron Jones as well. I mean, he finished top 5 in the league last year for total rushing yards. And I hear Emron, it was only like 1,100. It wasn't like in that 12, 1,300 in that range. But, we get the extra game this year. So maybe it's finally time for him to, take that big leap. You're not going to have Jamal Williams stealing as many touches. To me, the only upside for AJ Dillon to come onto the field over Aaron Jones is like in goal, in short, right? 3rd and short, 2nd and short, something to just move the chains to leverage his size and his body. Zeke, I could actually still see getting pulled on 3rd down for Tony Pollard at different given times. That they're weird down there. I'm not a McCarthy guy, but I could see that happening at certain points in the game. So I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. I just also trust that offensive line more. I trust their offense to finish more drives. I like the Packers offense, even though, if you look on paper, the weapons, it probably looks a little bit more appetizing for Dallas. I just trust LaFleur a little bit more than McCarthy. All right, next up we got Gibson versus Nadja Harris, total rushing yards. Who has more? We'll come back down to Nick.
I'm going to go Najee just because I think that Antonio Gibson right now, he does have the ability to be a 3-down back, but they're going to be using him more as a 2-down back just to try to extend his shelf life a little bit. I feel like Ron Rivera really likes him, but he's going to use him strictly for rushing, and J.D. McKissick is still there right now. So that's absolutely possible that he'll get those 3rd-down passes. So I'm going I forgot who the other one was. Najee. Sorry, Najee, yeah. Because he's just so much more opportunity there. Like, no one's going to challenge him.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Emron?
Yeah, so Gibson and Najee, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Gibson had a really strong rookie year, a lot of touchdowns. I think he's going to see a bigger role this year after we show Rivera he can do. So I think I'm going to go with Gibson. Yeah. I think I just have more questions about the line in Pittsburgh and just not sure what Najee will be able to do there. But I think Gibson showed a lot last year and enough to get an expanded role in his offense. So I think him being a 2nd-year player, having a really strong year in his rookie year, I think that helps his case out more.
Yeah, 1,000% agree. To me, when I'm looking at this again, I'm looking at free money, right? Very similar to the Lamar Jackson versus Kyler prop. That offensive line for Pittsburgh is just bad. I'm sorry. And again, maybe they prove me wrong. Maybe they really step up. Maybe Tomlin implements, an outside zone run game and just, everything goes, off the shelf, whatever. Everything that we know is gone. I'm going with Gibson here. He's in my top 10. He's a running back 1 this year for me. He's going to have more volume. I love J.D. McKissick, Nick, but I just have to feel like his role is going to be diminished in compared to last year with Alex Smith gone. Like, that's what he was. He was Alex Smith's safety valve, blanket, whatever you want to call it. Like that's where he was getting all of his value. And I'm just not sure with the weapons that they have now, like established weapons like Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, to me, is taking a big step forward. He's in tight end 1 territory this year. I just feel like they're not going to have to dig down to JD McKissic for 14 targets a game, 15 targets a game. You know what I mean? Like he may still have that third down role where they need a pass catcher out there, but they're talking about using Gibson even more as a pass catcher. So I see him as more of a 3-down back this year. If this was total yards, it'd be a lot closer, but for paying even money, I'm looking at free cash and right in the face here with Gibson. Next up, we've got Chris Carson versus Miles Sanders. This also looks like a free one to me. What do you think, Nick?
I'm going to go Miles Sanders just because, I mean, everybody talks about those rookie running backs. Like, isn't it like Kenneth Gainwell there or something like that?
Danny.
I'm going to say Miles Sanders just because I don't think Chris Carson is going to last 17 games. That's the thing. Miles Sanders, I think he will. Chris Carson, I think he just has that injury history, and I'm kind of not feeling him. So, I mean, if he didn't have it, I would feel his play and stuff like that, but he just doesn't do it for me.
All right, fair enough. What do you think, Emron?
I'm going to probably go with Carson. With Sanders, I just think that we were expecting a lot from him last year. I know he was banged up. And that running back room seems a little bit crowded for me. And I also think Jalen Hurts, I think year 2, I think he's gonna eat into that a little bit more. Taking off and limiting the amount of times he could probably run in some cases. So I'll go with Carson. Don't feel good about it, but if I had to pick, I'd probably go with Carson.
Yeah, I'd go with Carson as well, and maybe I shouldn't feel as good about it. Like I was saying, it looks like free money to me, and that's just because the Eagles they look bad. Like I think they're going to stink. Sorry, Driscoll, if you're in the chat. I don't mean to throw out Eagles hate every week, but I'm just not on Jalen Hurts. The only guy that I'd honestly want from this team is one of the tight ends and Devonta Smith. I don't want anybody else. I feel like Greg Ward's going to be a piece that's going to be reliable for fantasy people eventually, but probably not in weeks 1 through 4 when they're trying to go through the wide receiver carousel and figure out who's the best guy to pair with Devonta Smith. Nick, I acknowledge the injury history with Carson. I feel like that's kind of a good call, but I still feel like Chris Carson could outrush Miles Sanders on a half a season because Miles Sanders is still used as kind of like a dual threat running back. So I feel like if anything, he would have more receiving yards this year than he will rushing. And to Emron's point about the crowded backfield, Boston Scott's had a good preseason. Kenny Gainwell may have had the best preseason for the Eagles, period. Kenny Gainwell is someone that I am extremely, extremely high on in Dynasty. I would love to get some shares of him in redraft, but I feel like, you just don't need to. Like he's a super sleeper in redraft because he may not have a reliable role right out of the gate, and you could probably get him off waivers or maybe even with your last pick. It all comes down to format at the end of the day, but that's really the only couple of guys that I want from the Eagles. Not trusting Miles Sanders this year. He's a big fade for me. All right, let's move over to most rushing touchdowns. Before we do, if you haven't already, please be sure to smash the like button and share the video and follow us on youtube.com/take it to the Hizzy. So we are now looking at the most rushing touchdowns prop for the year. League, or not leaders, but odd leaders, I should say. Derrick Henry plus 550, Dalvin Cook plus 600, CMC plus 800, Nick Chubb plus 800, Jonathan Taylor plus 900, Damian Harris, y'all, plus 14 Harris, Alvin Kamara, I'll stop there at plus 1,600. All right, Zeke is after him, it's plus 1,600. Now I'm done. Any of the names that I listed, any names that I didn't, what are you guys thinking?
Derrick Henry.
He's going with the odds bet.
Yeah, man, he's the true running back in the NFL these days, and they're going to give him plenty of opportunities to have the most rushing touchdowns. So Derrick Henry's my pick.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
what do you think, Emron?
I think Derrick Henry's. I think he's definitely the favorite, just the way that offense is designed, and he's a bulldozer when he gets into the red zone. A guy I like is a sneaky play, and a really under the radar is Damian Harris. Recently, no Sony Michel, right? They traded Sony Michel, and even bigger, in my opinion, no Cam Newton. Cam Newton, I think, had 10, 11 rushing touchdowns last year, and he stole a lot of touchdowns from the running backs. Mac Jones is mobile, but he's not, like Cam Newton or those type of dual threat running quarterbacks. So I think, I would not be surprised, especially, it's going to be interesting to see how Bill handles a rookie quarterback, right? Is he going to run the offense through his running backs? And of the ones he has available, Dame Harris is really the only one that's going to be a running back. James White, great receiver, but he's not really going to bust it up between the tackles. So I like Damian Harris as my dark horse.
I don't know, man. Ramondre Stevenson's looks like he's going to have a real role there, and he just looks like he's a poacher. Like he's a touchdown poacher if I've ever seen one. So I personally wouldn't put any chips on Harris, but he's a guy that I like a lot this year. I like him a lot, but he's got to be able to finish consistently under the 5-yard line, right? Like otherwise, they're going to put that big bowling ball in Stevenson out there, and he's going to be poaching TDs. I guess I'll go with Derrick Henry as well. I mean, he's led the league in the past 2 years. When we're just looking at rushing touchdowns, or that's what it was, right? Not yards. Yeah, rushing touchdowns. Like he should have the most opportunity. He should have the most volume. He's a guy that will get 3 rushing attempts inside the 5 to finish every single time. And bar none, he probably will, unless it's like Robert Spillane coming up the middle trying to break his neck to stop him. There's not too many linebackers or linemen in this league that have been able to slow this guy down. So I'll go with Derrick Henry as well. When we're just looking at rushing, like, keep it simple. Try to kiss it, right, Nick?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So next up, I don't know what's up with these. I just labeled these Kamara and CMC props because I'm betting on all of them. What are these numbers? Receiving yards for CMC, over under, guys. Just really quick and maybe like a 10-second reason. 775.5 yards, over under for CMC. Receiving yard.
Under. I think
under?
775 is a lot. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrence Marshall, is a lot of other people there too. I think if he gets 750, that's a great year, but that's still under.
Emron, we got to do it right now. This is one of our props for the year.
Do it. Yep.
You down? It's all for charity.
Yep. It's all for charity. I'm down.
All right. So 775.5. I've got
Make
the
sure
over.
You get that half in there. That's the key.
Oh, it is, baby. Oh, it is. I'm taking the over. Emron on the under. I am writing this down. Going on the big board after this.
Awesome.
Under. CMC. All right. That's one. We got one. Yeah, to me, I'm looking at this. It's like a gift. I mean, to me, you're just betting on if he's going to be healthy or not. That's just the way I look at it. Like, if you don't think CMC is going to play in every game this year, even with those added weapons, believe me, I love Terrace Marshall, but we're talking about Sam Darnold here. This dude's going to be check 1, 2 down to CMC. Right. I'm taking the over all day. Okay. Next one up. No one get too caught up in this. Alvin Kamara, over under 650.
Over. Who else are they going to throw to?
Exactly. What do you think, Nick?
I say over.
Yeah, easy overs there. No great debate there. But again, free money, -115 going both ways here. It's absolutely ridiculous. Receptions for Alvin Kamara. He's hit over this number, I believe, in almost every year. I could be wrong, maybe by one season, but 74.5 receptions. Pound the over. Are you kidding me?
Over.
Yeah, over.
See previous answer. Answer. Who else did I throw?
Bet online AG. 74.5 receptions for Alvin Kamara. I'm sorry. That's just easy money. Let's see. Pablo says he agrees with Emmy. Said thinks Pats are going to do better under Mac than people realize. Thanks for the shout out. Wouldn't put money on it, but yes, I think we'll do in general. Harris should go up to his ADP next year. Just kind of following back on that Patriots talk there. But yeah, for these CMC props, Alvin Kamara props, hammering the over. And I don't have CMC's catch total on the list. I think he was at like 81 or 82. It doesn't sound as easy, but I'd still pound the over there as well. All right, so I got some curious picks here. These are just kind of like some random ones I'm going to jump into here. So rushing and receiving touchdowns in 2021, over under for 9 for CEH.
Over. Year 2 in that offense, they made it a mess last year batting Bell. It's just him. They lost Sammy Watkins. I think him getting 10 touchdowns, it's 10 total. It's not rushing or receiving. So I think he can get 10 total. 10 total, yeah.
Yeah, I think 10 total is possible.
Oh man, I'm still going to go to the under. I just don't trust CEH. There were just different times last year in the red zone, literally other than week 1, the dude just couldn't finish. I just feel like they're just going to put the best guy out there in a given situation. It could even become a hot hand scenario if Edwards-Helaire doesn't take that leap forward like we all expect. So I'm going to go under there. Chris Carson, over under 9 even again.
Under.
Rushing touchdowns. Or this, sorry, this is rushing and receiving.
This is total touchdowns.
Take that back. Give me the over for CEH. My bad. I didn't see the receiving.
Under.
I'll go under for Carson.
Yeah. Can I say push?
Sure. Push.
I I don't think he can. His health and the receiving game. I actually, you know what? I'm gonna make it. I'll make a stand. I'll go under.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a stand. I just don't see him having as much volume like that.
Yep.
Maybe he gets one receiving touchdown all year.
Possibly.
Next up, you got Dalvin Cook at 14.5 total rushing and receiving. I like the over there.
Over.
I'm gonna take the over.
It's a high number. But
it's very high.
I feel like he can get 12 rushing just on his own.
He did 16 last year. Yeah, I mean, I think he can.
Exactly.
As long as he stays healthy, he's been healthy the last couple of years. Yeah.
All right, this next one. This is Emron's slam dunk home run pick right here. Dame Harris over under 7 total touchdowns. Or I'm sorry. It says 7 rushing next to it, but then right above his name on the prop it says
for total. Yeah.
So,
but I think if it's to total or if it's rushing, I'll take the over. I think that offense. I think they're gonna be one of the higher rushing teams in the NFL.
I agree. I'm gonna take the over there as well. What do you think, Nick?
I'm gonna take the over because I drafted him.
Oh well, there you go. That's
I need it.
That's a good reason. It's not bad. I like him. I picked him. I hope he does. So do it. All right. What receiver? Moving on to receivers here, getting close to wrapping it up. Most receiving touchdowns this year. Who leads the league in receiving touchdowns? Big names we're looking at. Devonte Adams, a couple of KC players in Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, Calvin Ridley, Adam Thielen, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Stefan Diggs. Somebody I named or did not name. Who you guys got?
I'm taking one of the Minnesota receivers, man. Even though Justin Jefferson had a crazy year last year as a rookie, Adam Thielen had like 13 or 14 touchdowns. Like I was like, what? That was amazing. So I grabbed some shares of Thielen for sure. But I think it's going to be one of the Minnesota receivers that will lead the league in touchdowns.
Justin Jefferson at plus 1,600. Nick's over here doing the gritty, getting after it. Let's go.
Let's get it.
What do you think?
I'm going to go someone who's not on the board. Give me A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown. Okay. I don't hate it. Honestly, if Julio didn't come over, I'd be on it. I'd say he should be a top 5 option in there. But with Julio and Henry, it's tough. But I like where your head's at. Because he's a top 5 wide receiver for me. Before Julio came over, now I got him at like 6, I think. So per 5.
No Johnny or Corey Davis though, so I think it's a wash. But we'll see.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. I'm going to go with probably just Devonte Adams because Aaron Rodgers is just going to flood him with opportunities. At one point in this season, there's going to be a 4 touchdown game for Devonte Adams. Not sure when.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a 4 touchdown game for Devonte Adams. Like we saw Tyreek Hill do that last year, right? Oh, yeah. We're doing that this year in Green Bay. We're going to do that. All right. Now we're moving over to matchups for wide receivers. So touchdown matchups. First one up is DeAndre Hopkins versus Allen Robinson. Close to home, Emron. What do you got?
I'm going Allen Robinson. I know I'm going to be looked as a homer, but the way I look at it is Robinson had more than Hopkins last year. Robinson is getting the best quarterback play of his career. Not saying much if you look at who he's played with. So I think he's going to a big year because he's also playing for a contract. So I love Hopkins. He might have more yards, but I think touchdowns are going to go to Robinson.
All right. What do you think, Nick?
I'm going to say Hopkins. I've never seen someone just moss 4 people at once. And considering that his QB can't see actually where he's at, that's highly impressive. So I'm going to go Hopkins. He is just legit. And not that Robinson isn't, but there's going to be a changeover of quarterback. There's going to be a feeling out period, a chemistry building period, and go from there. But I think Hopkins is going to lead the league.
Yeah, I'm going with Hopkins as well. He's my wide receiver 2. I'm saying that he's going to take a big leap forward in the touchdown department. I think he's going to have more this year. Allen Robinson, yeah, I mean, he's great. Bears wide receiver 1. He's like number 7 on my wide receiver list. Have a lot of love for him, but there is a good chunk of margin that I have between the two, right? So I'm much higher on DeAndre Hopkins, a guy that I could see leading the league in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. He has that type of potential. At the end of the day, Matt Nagy is going to nag, and the Bears are going to be the Bears. You know, like being that close to the situation, I like to get hyped up about it, but at the same time, I look to years past, and I always feel disappointed. The Bears need to bring Allen Robinson back. If they were smart, they'd be trying to throw him a touchdown on every damn drive. But at the end of the day, that's not how they behave. Like that's just not how they operate. If Matt Nagy wasn't playing calls, I'd probably also have him a little bit closer as well. But I just don't trust the offense right out of the gate. They have their best quarterback on the bench week 1. That's an issue for me already. We don't need to get into that great debate, but at the end of the day, like operationally, I still trust the high flying offense of the Arizona Cardinals a little bit more because that's what they are, and they relish in their identity. They overload him with targets, so I just feel like there's going to be more opportunity there for Hopkins.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next one up, we got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Who has more receiving touchdowns this year? That's a really good one. Really good one.
Higgins, because Jamar Chase can't catch a ball right now.
Oh.
I'm going Jamar Chase, man. I'm all over Jamar Chase. I know everybody's been documenting what's been going on in preseason and training camp. Not phased by it. I think he's going to shine. He tore apart college football 2 years ago when he played with Joe Burrow. I think we already talked about how much this team is going to throw. I think he's going to be in line for a big year.
I'm going to throw one extra caveat in here. Tyler Boyd. Chase, Boyd, Higgins. Who has the most touchdowns? I'm gonna say Higgins over Chase, just because of the kind of the consistency. He's been in the playbook another year over Chase, and I still feel like Chase is going to be, like he's still going to be playing catch up to Boyd and Higgins early on for touches and snaps on the field. But add in Tyler Boyd. Who do you guys think?
Higgins still
Chase. Okay. Still Chase for me.
Still Chase? Okay, fair enough. Hey, if that's the case, I want to be loving my shares of Joe Burrow because that means he's taken off.
Oh, yeah.
All right, next up we got Robert Woods versus Cooper Kupp. Same team pairing. More receiving touchdowns.
Kupp, slot receiver.
Woods, bigger guy.
I mean, I love Woods, don't get me wrong, but they love Cooper Kupp in the slot. And I think Matthew Stafford is going to really enjoy having Cooper Kupp in the slot because he's usually having the 5th or 6th guy in his slot.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kupp. It's going to be close, but I think both receivers are going to have the best seasons of their career.
Yeah, I would actually not bet real money on this one. It's just a really fun topic. I would not put any money down versus Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp because it's probably literally a one touchdown flip, right? It's one or the other. You're going to have weeks where one catches 9 passes and the other catches 5, and then they're going to flip it the very next week. You know what I mean? Tomatoes and tomatoes. And I'll get into this pairing a little bit later. Actually, I have kind of something to get off my chest for you drafters out there this weekend and this coming week. But let's keep it going here. Another, actually, the next two are same team ones. So Chase Claypool versus Juju, who has more receiving touchdowns. I'm going Claypool again.
Chase Claypool versus Juju. Is it touchdowns?
Yeah, just receiving.
I'm gonna say Claypool.
Yeah, same here.
Yep.
What do you think, Emron?
Same thing, Chase Claypool.
Yeah, he's just been the screamer down the sidelines. We even saw him make a couple of great plays in preseason. He's just that downfield threat. Juju is going to be coming out of the slot, cleaning up things underneath. Maybe he has more catches than Claypool this year, but I'm going Claypool for more touchdowns and total touchdowns because he's going to rush some in too. Claypool. Yep. They like to give him some handoffs in the red zone, play a little trickery. Next up, another combo I'll go over a little bit later here. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, who has more receiving touchdowns?
Evans.
Going Mike Evans.
Yeah, Evans.
Did you say Evans, Emron?
Yeah, Evans. Yeah, Mike Evans.
Yeah, so we're all pretty clear on that. Like Mike Evans, he's that big body type of X receiver, another screamer down the sidelines, can make big plays with his hands, his legs, the sideline, toe touches, corner of the end zone, et cetera, right? Godwin, more of that PPR guy, cleaning up stuff underneath, kind of like we were comparing to Juju Smith-Schuster. So yeah, Godwin probably will have more catches. Evans probably going to have more touchdowns, right? At least on paper, that's what it looks like. All right, and now this last one, my wide receiver 1 and 2 in my rankings, Stefan Diggs versus DeAndre Hopkins, who has more receiving yards. I guess I got to go Diggs, right? I mean, I'm splitting hairs here, but I got him at 1 versus Hopkins at 2. So
Diggs, go Terps.
Yeah, dude, it's a great situation for both of those guys. I have both of them on my Scott Fishbowl team. I don't know how I did it. I also have Alvin Kamara on that team. Well, actually, I know how I did it. I didn't draft a quarterback with my first 2 picks, but they let DeAndre Hopkins fall to the 8th receiver off the board. I was eating W's over here, screaming at the top of my lungs. This is amazing. But I do need Joe Burrow to light it up because he's my quarterback in that league. So I need him to light it up. All right, next up we got more curious picks. Receiving touchdowns. Antonio Brown over under 5.5 receiving touchdowns.
Under.
Over.
Okay. Going over. Yeah, he had 4 last year and half of the amount of games played. I feel like this is another easy one. But we were just talking about Godwin and Evans. You could see both of those guys causing issues for that. Gronk as well. We'll be getting to his props. Only Gronk props here pretty soon. CD Lamb over under 6.5. What do you think, Nick? That's your guy.
Over. He's gonna have 10.
Seems like an easy over, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Give me the over there as well. Michael Gallup over under 5 even. I think this is another free one. I feel like he should be over 5.
I think he's gonna get 6.
Okay,
I think he can get 6. That's not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but I feel like that's a really good one. Like 5 is too low a number. They're saying under is plus money, so there you go. Like just chase after the 5.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to be the receiving yards leader this year? I went with probably Diggs. We've got Adams up here, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Justin Jefferson. Nick, you were mentioning him a little bit ago. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is at plus 1,200, y'all. What's that all about?
It's probably going to be Justin Jefferson. He's such a deep threat, man. He gets like huge chunks of yards, and they're going to throw in the ball a lot. So I'm going to say Justin Jefferson leads the league in receiving yards, or Stefan Diggs.
So Diggs is at plus 1,000, and Jefferson is at plus 1,100. Let's see.
Wow,
Adams is the
good.
odds favorite at plus 800. I feel like Tyreek Hill should be a top 5 option here still. Like
he's very low. In my opinion, I'm probably going to go with Calvin Ridley. I think he's in line for a monster year.
Mm-hmm.
And the second guy I mentioned earlier, who I think is going to have a monster year as well, is A.J. Brown.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I could see A.J. Brown in that mix as well. But like I said, again, I would have him in that mix more so, without Julio there. Because they are going to eat into each other's workloads at different points here. Kind of similar to what I mentioned about Kupp and Woods. Give me Tyreek Hill at the value, man. Plus 1,200 for the Cheetah. I'll take it. He could literally close it down in like 4 games or 3 games or something like that, where he just gets way too big a lead and no one can catch up. So I'll go with the Cheetah there. Let's jump down to the Gronk props. We got Rob Gronkowski over under 5 touchdowns. He had 2 in the Super Bowl.
Over. I'm going to say he's going to get 6.
Okay. Another Gallup situation. What do you think, Emron?
I think over. I think it's too low. I think if it was higher, I might go under. But 6 is, I think, very reasonable.
I agree. I'm going to take the over as well. Like I just said, he had 2 in the Super Bowl alone. I feel like they'll get him more targets this year. He's in way more NFL shape coming into this season than he was last year. Another year in the same system, playbook, etc. So, I'm going over as well. 500 receiving yards. 499.5 over under for Gronk.
Over.
Seems too easy, right?
I'm going under, actually.
Ooh, he's not.
Yeah, I think he's going to. I don't think he's going to be big, really down the field and getting a lot of yards. I think he'll be under. I think he'll be in that under 400 range. I think there's too many other people for yards. I think touchdowns he can easily get 6, but yards I don't think he's going to be. I think he's probably the 4th, 5th option.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling it, Emron. What do you think? Round 2?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do it. All right. 499.5. I'm taking the over, and Emron's taking the under. And for reference, Emron doesn't take the under on anything.
That's very true.
So this is good for me.
Always bet the over.
All right, sounds good. So we got another little season-long prop there for us. Let's jump into the tight end props now. Tight end touchdown over unders, and then we're going to get into our final hot takes and wrap it up and go enjoy the rest of our Sundays. All right, so just rapid fire here. Austin Hooper over under 4.5. I like the over.
Under.
Not a lot of volume there in Cleveland. You guys like?
I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy too. If he stays healthy, I feel like he should hit that number. Dallas Goedert over under 5 receiving touchdowns. I like the over.
Over.
I'm sorry, who was the guy?
Dallas Goedert.
And what was the line? I'm sorry.
5.
Give me under, because I think that Zach Ertz is going to be used. He wasn't traded, so it's going to take away from Goddard.
Give me the over, because as soon as they get Minshew in, that's going to be his favorite target, Dallas Goedert. Over under for Darren Waller, 7.5. Love the over.
Over.
He runs that off.
He's a double-digit guy to me. If you're asking me, he's a double-digit option for me. Eric Ebron over under 4.5. I like the
under
for
Nick.
Freiermuth there.
Yep. I think the under as well.
Taking over.
Yep.
All right, George Kittle over under 6. Seems like another easy over.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer, but I'll take over.
They just don't believe that people are interested in tight end props. It's very silly of them.
They haven't met us yet.
Gerald Everett. This is probably my favorite. Over under 3.5. Crank it. Crank the over, baby.
You're asking if you can get 4. I'm taking that over. That's not a lot.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Hunter Henry 4.5.
Over.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, it's over. It's a really low number. And once they get to the red zone, those tight ends are going to be really friendly for
especially with what they paid him. It's him. That's him and Jonnu Smith's offense.
Jimmy Graham over under 3 receiving touchdowns this year.
Over.
Yeah.
Give me the under, baby. Give me the under. Cole Kmet, tight end 1. Let's go. Give me the under.
He had 9 last year, and I think 3's that's not a lot.
He's replaced. That's it. Nick Foles ain't at quarterback, Emron. Kyle Pitts, 7.
Over.
I'm really high on Kyle Pitts, man. I'm going over.
Yeah, I like the over as well. Logan Thomas, 5.5. Love the over there. Think there's a lot of opportunity in that offense.
I do too.
What do you think, Nick?
Over.
Logan Thomas, over. Who? What? Mark Andrews, 7.5.
Under, unfortunately.
I'm going to take
We already talked about Bateman being gone and all these other guys. Someone's got to catch the ball.
Yeah, I'm the same thing. I think he's going to have touchdowns mainly because he's the last man standing.
Absolutely. All right, so that's about it there. We're going to jump into our final hot takes of the year. Mine's like mostly just quick takes and then some draft advice. But we'll start with Nick. What do you got, Nick?
I think Tony Pollard is going to take a huge step forward in Dallas as the third down running back. He's going to be pretty electric and provide a huge change of pace. And people are going to be like, oh, man, who drafted Tony Pollard? I saw him last year, and he really stepped up when Zeke stepped down. And that's why I keep saying that Zeke needs to step up this year because Tony Pollard is way cheaper and way more electric based off of last year. And then also I think that it's going to be a constant fight between who's better in Dallas, Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb just has the swagger right now, but Amari Cooper has the production. So it's going to be a race the entire time, and it sucks because Michael Gallup's going to be forgotten, but he's still going to get like 800 yards. So Dallas's offense is going to be very fun to watch. It's going to pace the games. And I think that he's going to force Dak's going to force Tom to come out in the first game of the season and give us like a 32-35 game. That's kind of how I see the first game going.
Bet the over, says Nick.
Yep, that's 52.5. I'm saying bet the over.
Yes, sir. I think it's come down a little bit, but what do you got, Emron?
Still over then.
Yeah, so for my 2 takes, one, it's going to be that Derrick Henry leads the league in rushing again. Everybody's kind of been waiting for Derrick Henry to fall off. They said 300 carries was too much. And then he had 378. The last 4 years, it's just going to seem surprising. The last 4 years, his rushing attempts, his yards per carry, and his rushing touchdowns have all gone up every single year, which is insane. And I think he does it again. I think he's going to be a back-to-back 2,000-yard rusher. I think that offense, I think people are just really underestimating how good, Ryan Tannehill's that offense is. And I think Julio's got a lot left in the tank. We've seen receivers play and be productive well into their mid-30s. And I think Julio's no exception. The guy's built like a god. So I think Henry's going to have another monster year. Second one, I think it's weird to phrase it because this guy's not a young quarterback. But if you were to say like who's going to be this year's Josh Allen, right? Like who's going to come out of kind of nowhere and maybe have 40 touchdowns, maybe 5,000 yards. I'm going to pick a guy that's done that before already. I think Matthew Stafford is going to be top 3 in QBs and most metrics, yards, touchdowns.
Love it.
I think the guy's finally been freed from Detroit. He's got the best coach he's ever had. He's got solid weapons all over the place. Deshaun Jackson, Woods, Cup, decent enough offensive line. He's going to get his ass kicked week 1. But after that, I think he's going to have a solid year. So I think Stafford's going to be
running backs rush for 100 yards a game this year.
No. Who cares?
No.
Just chuck it all over the field. Just throw it 80 yards and see if Deshaun Jackson can go get it.
Oh, he's only good for 1-9 route per season. Okay, you don't want to blow it on the first game.
I was like, Emron, don't do that to the guy. He's going to break an ankle right after he catches it. Come on now.
Nope, tearing hamstring or strain it. That's what always happens, man.
Yep.
All right, so I have a bunch. I'm going to rapidly go through four of them, and then I'm just going to get to my draft advice, which to me, this topic I'm going to cover has just been so consistent in like every draft that I've had so far. So first off, quick hot takes. James Robinson, had him at like RB 20 or so, with ETN. RB1 territory this year. James Robinson, lock him up. Gold in your third, fourth, fifth round. If people are disregarding him, lock up James Robinson this year. He's back to an every down back with ETN injured. Julio and A.J. Brown will both be wide receiver ones this season. They're going to be overloaded with targets. You want to grab Tannehill wherever you can as well. Those guys are going to be on fire this year. Emron has them, or one of your previous hot takes was having them go to the Super Bowl. I'm with it, at least the AFC Championship for sure. Love the Titans this year. Cole Kmet, who had just mentioned about Jimmy Graham. Cole Kmet, tight end one this year. Super sleeper guy that you can pick up off of waivers in some leagues, guy that you can draft with your last pick in your draft. Cole Kmet is going to be nothing but money this year, especially when Justin Fields gets on the field. Pun intentionally intended. Jimmy G will be a fringe QB1 in fantasy this year. I'm talking like QB 13 through 15. He's going to be right on that bubble. He's got the best roster that he's had, even prior to the Super Bowl team that they with the run that they made against the Chiefs. All right, and lastly, my last bit of advice for this fantasy year before we kick it off. My Sinister Six, which is the Rams, Cowboys, and Buccaneers wide receivers. We're talking Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. Do not rush to draft any one of them. Draft of the fifth or sixth of that group. Don't rush to those guys in the third or fourth round. I'm seeing this happen so consistently. Unless this is dynasty and you can hog, one of the younger pieces of that bunch, you don't want to run to any of those guys because that value will still be there. Amari and CeeDee Lamb, they're going to exchange production week in and week out. Like if Amari Cooper was still hurt and he was still banged up, I'd be right there with you. You can pole vault CeeDee Lamb. Same situation goes with these other guys, right? Like they're going to exchange production week by week. Wait and let one of them fall to you. Chase a higher end quarterback, chase a higher end tight end, or double down on running back, right? And in that same breath, don't overinvest in wide receivers early because you'll be able to have one of those guys fall to you, whether it's a flex spot or your last wide receiver or whatever it is. And let's say you listen to my advice and you completely miss on all six of those guys, right? Well, a lot of names that we brought up today: Tyler Higbee, Michael Gallup, Antonio Brown. There are still options in those high octane offenses that you can get later in your draft. And you don't have to rush to be the first guy to grab one of those six receivers that are roughly anywhere from like wide receiver, let's say 14 to 22. They are just crunched in there. And I see people overvaluing them in drafts in like that third round or even popping some of those guys in the second round. Irresponsible, in my opinion. If you think otherwise, let us know about it. You guys got anything else to close it down with? I'll get off my podium here.
Nope. Ready for the season start.
Well, we're excited for the season to start, guys. Thursday kick off the first game of the year. Next Sunday is going to be a beautiful, beautiful day. Bets, games, parlays. Looking forward to hopefully hearing the surprise announcement as the game starts Sunday night that Justin Fields is actually starting at quarterback and not Andy Dalton. Would love that last minute dupe by Nagy, but a guy can hope, right? A guy can hope.
If he's not there to start the game, he'll be there at halftime. I've been banging that drum for a long while, so we'll see.
And one last thing I could say is going to be homer as hell, but I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to get in soon enough, and I think he's just going to rack up some touchdowns.
Hey, I'm right there with you, but it's a homer pick for me too. All right. Well, take care. Be well, everybody. We will be back Thursday night for the kickoff of the NFL season. Be there or be square. Be good, and if you can't be good at it. We will catch y'all on the flip. Later.
Later, guys.